Does anybody want to make the NFL playoffs? Who knows? Does anybody care? Hard to tell. That and more about college football coming up.
Let's talk football.
Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Football. This is episode 11. Hard to believe.
I know.
I'm your host, John Behrens.
I'm Joshua Perkins.
Okay, so you want to start with college, right?
Right. It's a way to get into the NFL.
Kind of, if I remember correctly, now let me pull up the scores. I mean, it's been a few days since I last saw them, but not too surprising with the exception of Purdue knocking off number 2 Ohio State. Not just knocking them off, kicking them off the cliff.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it wasn't a real big surprise that Purdue beat Ohio State because you've seen over the past couple seasons Ohio State tends to slip against one team. There tends to be that trap game that Ohio State goes against. Last year it was Iowa. This year is Purdue.
But not by 29.
I mean, it's always a game that ruins Ohio State's resume. So if Ohio State, say they turn the tables and they went out and win the Big Ten title, there is a chance that they might not be able to get into the 14 playoff because if you look at their loss against Purdue, and Purdue is an unranked team, and Purdue, they started the season off struggling. This was supposed to be, a much winnable game for Ohio State. I was surprised by the score. It's surprising. 49-20. Looking at how good the offense is. Purdue's only 4-3 of the season. Purdue's been on a hot streak as of late. But here's something that kind of stood out to me. Dwayne Haskins, their Heisman candidate quarterback, threw the ball 73 times. He went 49 of 73, 470 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. That's just unreal.
Yeah,
that's unreal.
Well, desperation kind of set in there.
Yeah, to where they kind of stopped running the ball.
Yeah, pretty much 100%.
And pretty much Purdue, they just been in control of this game. They were up 14-3 at halftime and just outscores Ohio State 35-17 in the second half. They scored 28 fourth quarter points. They had a huge fourth quarter against Ohio State. It was and I could say this, I feel that this victory for Purdue, I feel that it can open the door for Michigan. You see Michigan's in the top 10
absolutely.
Right
no, without question.
So Michigan has a golden opportunity. They've been dominant over the past few weeks.
Their only losses in Notre Dame so far.
And Notre Dame, they haven't lost yet.
No.
So, so their loss doesn't look so bad.
No, it really doesn't. I did see something that happened that is just kind of a almost a trend now, is that Cincinnati breaks into the top 25 and then immediately loses afterwards.
Temple, they're a pretty gritty team. That's something I'll give Temple. They kind of gritty out there in the American Conference. But, I kind of saw Cincinnati going down sometime this season.
Uh-huh.
Also, Central Florida. They're still undefeated. What else is new?
Somehow, I don't know. I saw a meme on Facebook. One of my former classmates shared it. And I don't remember how long it's been since you saw Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one.
It's been a while.
But it's like that scene where Commodore Norrington says, "You're the worst pirate I've ever heard of," and then he goes, but at least you've heard of me. Well, wow. Someone replaced Johnny Depp's face with the mascot for what is it? South Florida. South Florida. And it just replaced it like, "You were the worst undefeated team I've ever heard of." But you've heard of me. It's just like, because South Florida just, I don't know, they somehow managed to keep winning, but in the least impressive ways possible.
You talking about Central Florida?
No. South Florida. They're 21st, 7-0.
I thought you were talking about Central Florida, because Central Florida hasn't lost a game in almost 2 seasons.
No, Central Florida is actually somewhat impressive.
Now Joel Klatt, who's an analyst, he kind of like, because at first I'm like, I don't know why Central Florida not getting the recognition they deserve. They should be a little higher. They've been winning. I'm a huge fan of Mackenzie Milton, but Joel Klatt really put it in perspective. Central Florida, out of 130 teams, they have their strictest schedule is 110th out of 130 teams.
Yeah.
You can, if you give any team in the top 25, you can give them Central Florida's schedule. I can guarantee you each team in the top 25 will go undefeated with Central Florida's schedule. Am I right or wrong?
You're not too far off. That's not too far off at all. I wouldn't say they don't ever play anybody because, I mean, last season they did beat Auburn.
They did. But it's just, I mean, I'm talking about during the regular season. And then,
during the regular season.
And so, it's when Central Florida, I mean, you could probably, this season, if they make it to the postseason, they go into New Year's Six Bowl again, which most likely is probably going to happen if everything goes as planned for them this season. We might see their true colors when they go up against a top formidable team, like if they face like an Oklahoma or a Michigan squad or a Kentucky squad. You never know what can happen.
Yeah. So something that keeps almost baffling me a little bit is that the Kentucky Wildcats keep winning. They beat Vanderbilt just barely, squeaked by one there, 14-7.
But then, I mean, Vanderbilt almost beat Florida last week.
Vanderbilt has a better than advertised defense when you really think about it.
True.
And their offense is not that bad either. It's just, again, I think it's almost a consistency problem.
I mean, like I said, Vanderbilt has all the tools to be a successful team in their conference.
Yeah.
The only problem is that they have a problem putting it all together. I mean, they play with it. They play their hearts out. They play really hard. They play as a team, but it's just their problem. They can't finish. That's their problem. They wasn't able to finish against Florida, and they wasn't able to finish against Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, they were up pretty strong against Florida, 21-3.
And so Vanderbilt's not a slouch. It's just their problem is finishing.
Yeah, but kind of back to where I was originally going before, kind of just giving kudos to Vanderbilt. Yeah, with wins next week, which Kentucky plays Missouri, so they should win that one. Should, keyword.
Should.
And
don't sleep on Mizzou now.
If Georgia beats Florida again, that game is a little bit more of a toss up. We'll talk about that game a little bit in a little bit in bit. I just want to get to my original point. Is that with wins next week, Kentucky and Georgia will go into their game in 2 weeks with a SEC East on the line.
Pretty much, because Kentucky is basically on Georgia's butt, basically.
Because Kentucky has a win over Florida already, and if Georgia beats Florida, that gives Florida 2 losses.
And so Kentucky and Georgia, pretty much the winner of that game is going to go to the
Kentucky.
Mercedes-Benz Stadium and face against the winner of Alabama and LSU.
At this point, I just say yeah. Alabama LSU's game will decide the West.
So it's safe to say these next 2 weeks, say if the rest of the season goes as planned, these next 2 weeks are going to determine who meets up for the SEC championship game.
Yeah, that weekend will decide the East and the West.
And see, with Kentucky, they're ranked 14th. Just imagine how high they can go if they beat Georgia. If they beat Georgia, then we could be. If Kentucky can win out, I mean, we could be looking at a Cinderella story in the Kentucky Wildcats.
I almost can see them already as one. I mean, they're this late in the season still competing for the West title. Not West, sorry, East.
I mean, they're starting to look kind of like a George Mason, you could say.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine how much better they would be if they actually had a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, their quarterback only had 18 passing yards. He was 3 for 9, 18 yards and a touchdown. Kentucky is a running team. Kentucky, here's where they fall short. That offensively, they're one-dimensional. They rely on the run. I mean, you look at Benny Snell Jr., 32 carries, 169 yards against Vanderbilt. I mean, Benny Snell, honestly, that should be a Heisman candidate there.
Here's the thing also is they may be a run-happy team, but you can run the ball in Georgia.
You can. Look at what LSU did.
And if you just disrupt their passing game, you can beat Georgia.
Pretty much LSU exposed Georgia completely because
Which
leading up to that game, Georgia was never really in a pressure situation.
Kentucky has some pretty serious linebackers.
Kentucky has a pretty good defense. They have a pretty stout team. Yeah, they might not be able to pass the ball, but with Benny Snell Jr., this is the game for him to really make a name for himself going against a very stout Georgia defense. You can run the ball on Georgia. LSU proved that.
Yeah.
And honestly, in my opinion, that Kentucky run game, I feel it's deadlier than LSU's run game. You look at who Kentucky got in the backfield. They got Benny Snell Jr., who so far this season has 160 carries for 868 yards rushing and 9 touchdowns. I mean, he's going to eclipse over 1,000 yards, and honestly, I don't know why this guy is not in contention for the Heisman. I mean, the guy runs hard every single week.
Really and truly, it's just the fact that he plays for Kentucky.
True, because you look at the Heisman candidates, you look at Tua Tagovailoa, Alabama, Dwayne Haskins, Ohio State, Kyler Murray, Oklahoma, Will Grier, West Virginia, upper echelon, top perennial powerhouses. So, I mean, I'm kind of not surprised.
I would say, other surprises. I guess, well, not a surprise. I would say, Washington State beating Oregon pretty handedly.
That wasn't really a surprise to me. I mean, Oregon, they're kind of trying to find themselves, you know? And, Washington State, they're playing emotional football. I mean, as you know, a guy who was supposed to be by the name of Tyler Helinski, who was set to be their projected starting quarterback this season, he committed suicide at the end of last season. It was shortly after the season was over, and he had committed suicide. We still don't know the reason yet, but, I mean, my heart still goes out to that family. It's not easy to lose a child, It's not easy to have to bury your own child due to suicide. So, I mean, my heart goes out to the Helinski family. But Washington State, they've been playing some emotional football this season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Pac-12 is pretty much a toss-up now.
Yeah. Well, USC is proven to be a bit of a disappointment. I mean, it really just kind of shows that Sam Darnold meant a lot more to that team than they probably realized.
Well, they also had Ronald Jones at running back, and he just made USC offense just a lot more dangerous. But I mean, Washington State, I mean, they're 6-1, and now Washington State, they seem to be a front runner in the Pac-12.
So, playoff predictions. I think we're close enough to where we can start zeroing in on who may or may not be there.
Well, I think it's after this weekend is when the playoff rankings start to come out, right?
Yeah. But we're over halfway into the season by now.
Yeah, I mean, we're in week 9 of college football right now, and I mean the top 4 teams, of course, Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, LSU. That's the top 4 teams in the nation. So if the playoffs did start today, we would still see Alabama and LSU go at it in the semifinals.
Well, yeah. Well, the LSU and Alabama still have to play each other. So I hardly count the fact that they're both in the top 4.
And honestly, I feel that if LSU does beat Alabama, you still can't count Alabama out. Alabama still has a shot to make the 14 playoff. They will need some people to lose.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they got into the playoffs last
season without winning their conference.
Without winning their conference.
First off, I mean, their loss against Auburn, they wasn't knocked down much due to the fact Auburn was a surging team. So the loss didn't look too bad for Alabama. And then Auburn went into the SEC title game and lost, which opened the door for Alabama. And you look at Ohio State's loss against Iowa last season, which looked really bad on their resume. Ohio State, they say they got snubbed, but honestly, in all honesty, you put Ohio State against Alabama could beat them pretty handily, especially since Ohio State's leading tackler, Nick Bosa, left to rehab for the draft.
So, you're talking about this year?
Yes.
Okay, I thought we were talking about last season.
I was mixing it up. And then you look at this season, Ohio State suffers another bad loss against Purdue in a blowout. I mean, we could be seeing deja vu. So, in my opinion, if LSU does beat Alabama, I mean, for LSU this week, November 3rd is make it or break it.
If you look at the last three meetings the two teams have had in Tiger Stadium, they combined have been decided by less than 10 points.
Yeah, that is true. that is definitely true. I mean, the last meeting at Tiger Stadium, Alabama was held scoreless. This was a Jalen Hurts led offense. This was Jalen Hurts' first season starting for Alabama. You know, and this LSU team gave every season. This LSU team gives Alabama the hardest test every season.
Right.
So
I wouldn't say every season, but
not every season,
you're
but
close.
most of the time,
Yeah.
it's always a game that's watched by everybody in the nation. LSU and Alabama, because you never know what can happen.
CBS always likes to pick this game up for their nighttime doubleheader.
Hey, SEC on CBS is nothing like watching. I mean, it's just I like CBS. I like watching SEC on CBS. I do.
Okay. NFL. Yeah. So, okay. Let's just go ahead and say this. We're about, depending on which team to look at, 6-7 games into the season. So, the halfway point is coming up this Sunday for most teams.
Right.
The only division that is not wide open from top to bottom is the NFC West. That is soundly the Los Angeles Rams. Every other division is wide open. I mean, the best record outside of Rams is
The Saints.
the Saints, who are 5-1, but the Carolina Panthers are 4-2, and then
And what I find funny is that every time the Saints are in the lead for the NFC South, no matter who the Panthers are playing, the Panthers are going to beat them. You look at the Panthers; they were down 17-0 against Philadelphia going to the fourth quarter, and they came back with a 21-point comeback and knocked off the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, every time that the Panthers are not first in the NFC South, if they're behind the Saints, they play like their backs are against the wall. And you saw it last season. It's just the Panthers were just beating teams left and right and keeping pace with the Saints. And that's what keeps the Saints, playing so hard,
yeah, but just, I mean, look at this.
Like the AFC South is wide open. The AFC East is wide open. Well, unless you're Buffalo.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh leads the AFC North.
At 3-2-1.
They're 3-2-1. The Bengals are 4-3. Baltimore's 4-3, and Cleveland's 2-4-1. So whatever.
AFC West looks wide open unless you're Oakland.
Yeah, Oakland's
who
pretty
just
much.
lost Amari Cooper to they traded Amari Cooper to the Cowboys.
I know, but at the same time, you kind of see what Gruden is doing there with five first round picks over the next 2 years.
But at the same time, and I understand, hey, 5 first round draft picks over the next 2 seasons, right?
If 3 of those become superstars, that's pretty solid.
Well, and the key word is if. I mean, yeah, it's good. You got 5 first round draft picks, so you're going to be getting the top talent coming to your team. But at the same time, John Gruden's rolling the dice. As you've seen the draft over the years, they're either going to be superstars or they're going to take a while to come into their own, or they're going to be complete busts. Remember one of the last guys they got in the first round who they thought was going to be a superstar became a complete bust. Unfortunately, he came out of LSU. Yeah. Jamarcus Russell.
I know. Trust me, I know the Ryan Leaf factor.
And so I feel that John Gruden, I feel that Chucky is rolling the dice a little bit too much. I mean, honestly, with a franchise that's about to move to Las Vegas, the 3 guys on my team that I would want to kind of help spearhead the new era are the 3 guys that came to my team through the draft: Derek Carr, Amari Cooper, Khalil Mack. You just lost Khalil Mack because you didn't want to pay him. You lose Amari Cooper because you want to trade him for first-round draft picks. All you have is Derek Carr. Marshawn Lynch has hit a drop-off. He's not, Well,
Lynch is now on the IR.
He's on the IR, so he's not healthy right now, and he's not really giving up giving the same production as he did when he was in Seattle.
Well, but just think about it, dude. Over the next 2 years, that's okay, they're 1-5 right now, so they're in contention for the number 1 overall pick, right?
Right.
All right, so this upcoming class is if I'm correct,
It's
it's
a
a
defensive class. I mean,
defensive class.
You look at the. I mean, if you look at the top five, two guys out of LSU project go top five, and that's Devin White and Greedy Williams. They're projected top five, at least top 10. The number one prospect is Nick Bosa of Ohio State, who's a defensive end, who is a machine on that defensive line.
So you got three. I want to say three first round picks this year, or this coming draft, and then two the following.
Well, I think what John Gruden is doing is kind of like it's making it easier for him as far as filling the team needs. Like they can wait until the draft, and they know they're going to need another receiver. Mark Cooper's gone. They know they need somebody at linebacker or on the defensive line. They can easily fill those spots in with guys with a lot of potential. But here's where he rolls the dice. You don't know if that guy's going to give you mass production. You don't know if he's going to be a superstar or if he's going to be a late bloomer coming to his own or if he's going to be a complete bust. And so I feel that with trading your top receiver, which is a sure thing, is like you're rolling your dice, you trading the known for the unknown.
Right.
And so that's where it rolls the dice. Now, John Gruden, I mean, he seems like a guy who gambles his cards pretty well. And so it might be, he might see something that a lot of people are not seeing. So, I mean, if I'm wrong, I do stand to be corrected.
I just see Gruden like really stacking the defense with this upcoming draft, and then I could, grab a receiver in free agency. You can get a solid receiver in free agency.
I just want to put that out there. Des Bryant is still a free agent. Just want to put that out there. Just put it out there. Just saying.
Get in a quarterback, best done through the draft, but they still got Derek Carr.
Unless he is the face of their franchise.
Unless Gruden decides to just abruptly trade him as well.
He's not going to trade. No, that's not happening this season.
As quarterback happy Gruden, of course not.
No, not happening.
But I don't know. Who else do you think is on the trading block right now? I mean, I know rumor has it that Patrick Peterson has requested a trade.
And, I mean, there's been speculation about the Saints maybe looking at him. But
at the same time, the Cardinals have come out and said they're not going to trade him.
I mean, he is your top defensive player. I mean, he's the best defensive player that came to your franchise. Patrick Peterson, from the time he came from LSU to now, he has been to the Pro Bowl every season.
Yeah, actually,
he's
been all pro,
and he's a future Hall of Famer, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Why are you going to trade your future Hall of Famer? Why you want to trade your top defensive player?
Let's just say it, dude. Arizona is in rebuild mode right now.
They are. And it seems like they're trying to get fresh blood. Larry Fitzgerald is most likely he's going to retire within the next 2 seasons. He's going to retire. I mean, he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. He's already cemented his legacy. I mean, you're looking at a guy with one of the most sure hands. Before Odell Beckham, you had Larry Fitzgerald.
Right. And so, see, I don't know. It's this season is turning into such a complete toss-up.
The team that I'm liking so far is Houston. The Houston Texans. They are on a 4-game win streak.
I will say this. I am starting to get a little bit impressed with Houston. They are looking better.
A team that is disappointing me is Jacksonville. They're riding, I want to see a 3-game losing streak. And not only that, Blake Bortles got benched Sunday. He got benched.
I mean, Jacksonville just complete poop out.
Now, Jacksonville, I need a quarterback. Colin Kaepernick still in the market. Just let y'all know.
Not gonna happen.
I wish it did though. I'm a huge fan of Kaepernick. I've been a fan of him since he was in Nevada, and I mean I've been a fan since he's at, I used to like watching him play in Nevada. He used to make guys look crazy out there.
And another team that I just can't figure out is Tennessee. I mean, they'll look absolutely horrid one week, and then half decent the next.
And, a questionable call.
Going for the 2-point conversion.
Going for 2. Mike Vrabel wanted to win. I guess he was ready to leave London. It's just the fact of being able to finish a game. I mean, they did better offensively against the LA Chargers. It's just they wasn't able to finish. Honestly, in my opinion, you take the sure points and you go into overtime. Titans been in overtime before, and they won. Last time they were in overtime, let me see. Oh, yeah, it was Philadelphia, and your defense ended up holding up, and your offense drove down the field, also converting, I want to say, on 2 4 downs, and then scoring a touchdown at the end.
Yeah.
So it just kind of shows that I mean, I like the aggression. I like the enthusiasm from Mike Vrabel, who this is his first season as a head coach. But I think that showed a lack of trust in his team of not want to go to overtime and want to take the 2 points. I mean, if you trust your team so much, go ahead and do the extra point. If you do the extra point, you get to live to fight another day. Well, at least another quarter. Also, if you go check the replay of the Saints Ravens game, you get to see the ghost of Tom Benson on one of the goalposts as Justin Tucker's extra point went wide right.
Did you see his face?
He looked like he saw a ghost.
His face.
That's the face when your side chick calling you, telling you that she's pregnant. That's the face he made. When you chilling with your main chick and you get a call from your side chick or a text saying that she is pregnant, that's the face he made.
So digging through this mess, it looks like there are some teams that are a little bit. I mean, outside the Saints and I mean, somehow the Rams are still undefeated. I don't know how. As poor as their defense has been at times throughout the season. Anybody have an identity right now? I mean, even Chicago, which a team just started really solid just to begin the season. The last 2 games has been. I mean, they just couldn't handle the Patriots, who again had a slow start and now starting to pick up again. Big surprise there. And they let Brock Osweiler beat them.
The Chicago's like, you don't like the NFL. You're right. We don't know the direction any team is going. I mean, you look at the Dallas Cowboys. They hung 40 points on Jacksonville. And they come back and then they only have 17 points against the Washington Redskins, and they end up losing against Washington. And it seems that Washington has proven themselves, after getting blown out by the Saints on Monday Night Football. They knock off the Carolina Panthers in a spirited victory, and they knock off the Dallas Cowboys, and the Redskins are looking like they found their stride.
Yeah, after getting blown out by New Orleans.
I mean, were you surprised that was going to happen?
I mean, no, but still, I didn't expect Washington to bounce back with two
big wins.
2 big wins, yeah.
I mean, I feel those two wins are something that can probably help define Washington's season. Just the way they are able to respond after such a horrible, deflating loss against the New Orleans Saints. Another team that's starting to find their stride are the Minnesota Vikings. They start off kind of sluggish, and now they're finding their stride.
Yeah, a little bit. I'll agree with that to some degree.
Well, we're going to find out this Sunday when the Saints come to U.S. Bank Stadium. We're going to find out how good you are.
Yeah, the team who is obviously going to want to get a little bit of payback for last season's.
Oh, we're going to see some payback.
Okay, let's continue on the subject of identity crisis. Detroit Lions. They lost last week. Let's go back and look at that. Like, who did they lose to last week? Let's see. Go ahead and pull the scores up on here.
Detroit did beat Miami Sunday.
Yeah, but pretty handedly. But this is on. This is week 7. We're gonna go back to week 8. It's not 6.
No, Detroit was on a bye in week 6.
Week 6.
They were on a bye, and then this past Sunday, knocked off Miami. And one thing I would like to give Detroit props on is the fact that they got themselves a running game. They had a hard time establishing a running game over the years, and they have a rookie running back out of Auburn by the name of Kerryon Johnson, who against Miami had 19 carries for 158 yards rushing.
Okay, here's what I was thinking of. They were sitting 1-3 at one point after a 2-point loss to Dallas.
And now they're 3-3.
Now they're 3-3 after wins over Green Bay and convincing win over Miami. and win number one was a sound win over New England. But their losses are to Dallas, who can't decide what they want to be.
The New York Jets.
Ezekiel Elliott had 240 yards from scrimmage
also,
against the Lions.
Also, you remember Week 1 Monday Night Football? They got beaten pretty handily by the New York Jets in Sam Darnold's NFL debut.
Yes, yes. That is. I mean, nothing makes sense to me right now. Because nothing makes sense to me right now. I can't really put words to it.
It's just the NFL is truly the moral of the story this season is truly any given Sunday.
Right. I mean, I'm so used to having just a predictable season where the teams are going to do good. You have maybe a surprise team in each conference.
But that's the beauty of it. Any given Sunday, you don't know what's going to happen. It's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I like it. Love it.
And I think what this year we've had a significant amount of rookies starting.
You look at Josh Rosen, all right, so for the Buffalo fans and for the Arizona fans and the New York Jets fans, who seem they're not doing so hot, you need to relax. I mean, if I look at guys like Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield, they're not doing too hot right now. But it's kind of like when you first buy stock. Yeah, it's kind of like in its downfall stages. But I mean, it's going to grow. It's like when you plant a seed for the first time. I mean, you don't put a seed there and then it just doesn't grow. I mean, you gotta water it. You gotta do all the necessities. Basically, in the way of growing a plant, it's kind of like with Josh Rosen, with Sam Darnold, with Josh Allen, with Baker Mayfield. You gotta build franchises around these guys. I mean, you drafted them in the first round. I mean, apparently you want to build a franchise around these guys. You want them to be the cornerstone of your franchises. So you gotta add water, which basically add playmakers to them, add veterans, guys who are going to take them under their wing, guys who are going to teach them, guys who are going to guide them, and they're going to help them adjust to this new life, which is the Pro Football League.
Yeah. So some just looking through the matchups next week. Again, complete toss up.
Like Dolphins and Texans. Don't know what's going to happen there. Eagles and Jags. Don't know what's going to happen there.
That looked like a really good game when the season began. Now both teams can't figure out.
Ravens and Panthers. What impressed me about the Ravens that Joe Flacco, their passing attack has gotten more impressive. Last season, their passing attack was 29th in the league. This season, they're top 15 in the league in the passing attack.
Here's what I want to know. How does your team end up performing poor after you get your starting quarterback back in Carson Wentz? The Eagles have gotten worse with Wentz.
I mean, it's weird because before Wentz got hurt last season, he was first in line for the MVP.
Yeah, until he got injured.
And then Nick Foles stepped in. I mean, now Carson Wentz, he did put up a pretty good performance against Carolina. I mean, he was pretty proficient through the air. So I wouldn't say it's time for like a change at quarterback.
Oh no, the problem's not quarterback.
I think it's a supporting cast,
which isn't much different from their Super Bowl winning season.
So it's just, I feel that the Eagles are going through what I like to call a Super Bowl hangover.
Yeah, but the Super Bowl hangover doesn't typically affect the winning team that much. The team that usually experiences the most drop-off is the team that loses. Just look at Atlanta, or or Carolina, which went
They were 15-1 this Super Bowl year, and then that next season, I
like
think
5-11.
they missed the playoffs that next season.
They went 5-11 in 1 year after going 15-1 and
I mean,
playing for the Super Bowl. You know, I don't know. So, yeah,
it's just crazy.
it is. It is.
I mean, I wish we had like
I'm looking at this. You got Green Bay at Rams coming up.
That's gonna be a pretty good game.
That should be a really big, exciting game. But Green Bay's sitting at 3-2-1, and the Rams are.
But still, I mean, with Aaron Rodgers, anything's possible. I mean, Aaron
Right.
Rodgers Aaron Rodgers is a magician out there in the field at quarterback, and you're going against. I mean, and I feel that this is going to be the game where the Rams defense finds out truly how good they are because they're going against
Really?
a pretty solid offense in Green Bay.
No. I have to disagree with that one, sir. I think they're going to really be tested in the dome.
Yeah, they are. I mean, of course they're going to be tested in the dome, of course. But I mean, you know, I watch a lot of, NFL Network, and, there's a lot of people saying that the Rams might find themselves somewhat tested against Green Bay. I mean, with Aaron Rodgers, you can never count the Packers
you can
out.
never count Aaron Rodgers out.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, no matter who Aaron Rodgers got in receivers, Aaron Rodgers is going to make plays happen.
But,
so
at the same time, Aaron Rodgers is not having the most Aaron Rodgers-esque season right now.
And that's true. I mean, so the Rams, they're going to face some type of test from the Packers, but their true test is going to come in the dome where it's loud, it's inside, and they're going against the best quarterback in NFL history, led by a receiving core that's starting to really find their footing with Traquan Smith, Michael Thomas, Benjamin Watson, Alvin Kamara.
Taysom Hill still just baffles me.
It's just, I've never seen an NFL player get used the way he's been used.
No, it's completely unorthodox.
And know that you look at Taysom Hill, he's pretty much a running back that plays quarterback.
Yeah.
Have you seen how he runs? He don't run like a quarterback.
But it's easy to forget he can pass.
Bam. He's like, Taysom Hill, he's like the Saints Joker card.
Pretty much. I fully agree with that.
Well, he's known as their Swiss Army knife. When you look at Taysom Hill, I mean, with him running so much, I mean, and like you said, it's easy to forget that he can throw the ball. So I feel that something that the Saints should be able to incorporate is that when they put in Taysom Hill and they do the RPO, well, they do the read option, they should incorporate pass. Because all right, what's the first thing? All right, if you're a defensive coordinator, say we're in a game time situation. Say, I'm Coach Carmichael for the Saints. You're a defensive coordinator. I choose to put in Taysom Hill at quarterback. I put Drew Brees at like the receiver position, and I have Alvin Kamara right by me. And as soon as I snap the ball, what's the first thing you think I'm gonna do?
Run
with Hill. You think I'm just gonna fake it and let Taysom Hill run it? Which nine times out of 10 that happens. I mean, Taysom Hill's gonna fake it and he's gonna run it.
Right.
Would you expect him to pass?
I think they're a pass first team, obviously.
I mean, of course, but I'm just saying, based off, how the Saints been using Taysom Hill at the quarterback position this season, you think they're gonna expect a pass?
No, of course not.
Exactly.
I mean, he's only thrown it like 3 or 4 times now.
And so I say that the first time you put Taysom Hill in at the quarterback position, you let him fake it, and then you let him sling it, go over their heads.
They've lined Taysom Hill up at quarterback a few times already.
I mean, they have. I mean, that's what I'm saying. When they line him up, let him pass it, let him sling the ball.
No, I think they were really trying to establish a run game against the Ravens.
I mean, Alvin Kamara, he did have 17 carries and 64 yards in that game. I mean,
right. Well, Taysom Hill actually outperformed Mark Ingram.
Not really surprising. I mean, considering how stout that front seven is with C.J. Mosley and Terrell Suggs. I mean, Terrell Suggs, he's been in the league for how long, and he still is not missing a beat.
Right.
T-Sizzle.
All right. And just kind of lastly, do you think there's a clear runner on the MVP so far?
I say that my top contenders for MVP, of course, one up there is Drew Brees. Just the way he's been playing, of course, and he's breaking
still
records.
the only quarterback not to throw an interception this year.
And he is one of how many quarterbacks? 4 to beat all 32 teams.
Actually, he's only the third.
I was close. And now he's in the 500 club. So on top of playing so well, he's also shattering records. Another guy I would put up there is Todd Gurley.
Well, yeah, of course.
Jared Goff is another one I'll put up there.
Mm-hmm.
And Patrick Mahomes is a guy that I would probably kind of keep in there for a while until he's a guy I put a question mark by, because the Chiefs they always start off strong, but then they eventually hit that drop off. Will I say, are they going to hit that drop off this season? I'm not sure. Like we said, NFL can go in any type of direction.
Yeah. Well, where we stand right now, in my opinion, the two front runners are Patrick Mahomes and Drew Brees.
Honestly, I'll say Jared Goff and Drew Brees.
Jared Goff and Drew Brees?
Jared Goff has been playing some pretty good football this season. I mean, the Rams have a top 3 offense.
Yeah.
The top 2 offenses are the Rams and the Saints.
But Brees has like statistics you only see in like Madden football.
On rookie mode.
He's completing something like 77% of his passes right now. He has no interceptions through 6 games, which is pretty impressive.
It's actually pretty hard to do.
Yeah.
Considering the teams that he's faced, I mean, not only that, I mean, he went up against a Baltimore team that through the first, I want to say 6 games of the season for them, they did not allow a single second half touchdown. And the Saints were able to put up
17 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah. That I just realized that. Yeah, they had Baltimore had not allowed any points in the second half all season so far,
and then they just give up 17.
They just give up 17 to Saints. Okay. But okay, so where are we? Well, Goff has played 1 extra game, so he's at 2,130. So 2,130 yards passing. Here's the complete list. Where's Brees?
Drew Brees is ranked 13th.
13th. And that's just, I think, because he's played 1 less game than most of the guys in front of him. Yeah, 77.3% of his passes right now.
Which is probably the highest in the league.
It is the highest in the league and highest in history. So I mean,
he's thrown 13.
He's on pace to break his own record that he set last year.
And he's thrown 13 touchdowns, and get this, 0 interceptions. Just thought I'd put that out there. Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, he's thrown 22 touchdowns with only 5 picks. Good God.
And Brees has only been sacked 9 times, which is not bad.
Now you look at Matt Ryan, he's been sacked about 20 times. Matt Ryan's playing a pretty good season despite the Falcons having a losing record.
Look at Deshaun Watson, 26 sacks.
Which is kind of surprising because Deshaun Watson is a dual threat. I mean,
did you realize with 26 sacks, I wonder what pace that is at, because the quarterback to be sacked the most in a single season is David Carr.
Oh my God!
And he also played for the Texans.
Deshaun Watson has been cursed. I'm sorry, Deshaun, you've been cursed, brother.
Oh no, but back to Drew Brees. Passer rating 121.6. I think that's best in the league.
Highest in the league. Yep, highest in the league.
Oh, wait. Albert Wilson has a passer rating of 158.
He don't count. He's a wide receiver. He don't count. Odell Beckham has a perfect passer rating, but he only threw 1 touchdown, 1 pass now to Saquon Barkley off a trick play. But did it help the Giants win that game against the Panthers? Absolutely not. I want to talk about a wide receiver. We're talking about quarterbacks over here.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Well, let's
We need a good laugh though.
let's wrap it up on that note. So yeah, that's been Let's Talk Football for week 11, which is, like I said previously, hard to believe. We've been trucking on for 11 weeks now.
And also comment and give us like feedback. You know, we value your opinion. We like to hear your opinion. We like to hear things you like about the show or things you might want to change or whatever. I mean, we want to hear your feedback on how you truly feel about the show.
So yeah, to go continue on that note, Josh and I, as we stated last week, we're going to be starting Basketball Street Beat this November, which will cover college basketball and the pros. Pro basketball. You can find us on Twitter at AI Sports 3 and on Facebook at AI Sports Network. Also, we're on Apple Podcast. So feel free to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, our Apple Podcast, wherever you go and download it from. And yeah, tune in next week. Signing out, y'all.
Let's talk football.